Developing tonight, 5 people are dead after a crash on the Arapahoe County-Elbert County line.
That they saw something in the road that terrified them, causing them to veer off at high speeds and crash into the ditch where their car caught on fire and killed them all.
In that crash.
And near the spot of that crash is one of the most famous thought to be paranormal spots in Colorado. And lately, more and more Colorado teenagers are showing up at the so-called Ghost Bridge.
Yeah, these stories almost give you chills.
Hello everyone, and welcome back to A Haunting in Colorado. I'm your host Alexis, and tonight we're going to be exploring the infamous Third Bridge. Now, if you live in Colorado or if you're from here, you've most definitely heard of this haunted bridge that kills teenagers, has Indian drum beats, and is the site of many, many paranormal experiences. In the past few years, the bridge has grown even more popular due to a car full of teens who all died in a fiery car crash that could never be explained by authorities or the families of these kids. A lot of people think that they saw something in the road that terrified them, causing them to veer off at high speeds and crash into the ditch where their car caught on fire and killed them all. So, very strangely, right back before this car crash, I had actually gone to Third Bridge for the very first time. This is a week before this car crash. I went there with my husband at the time. We'd never been there. I grew up right next to it and I'd always wanted to go. I just never made the trip. So we went there and we explored. It was creepy. It was you could hear the drums, and I'll tell you guys more about what that sound actually is later, but definitely an eerie feeling. And literally, I went in the next day, told my coworker that I had gone there, and he was like, oh, I have a group of friends that goes there all the time, and they see all sorts of stuff, whatever. So literally a week later, I'm at work, and I hear my friend from the back of the office go, oh my God, Alexis, come here. I went back there, and it was a news video of his friends who had gone to the bridge that night, and they died. This was just a week after I went there for the very first time. So I immediately felt lucky to be alive. So let's get started on the location of the bridge. It is in Coyote, which is, if you don't know, Bennett, Colorado. It's probably like 30 minutes east of Aurora. It's kind of in between Byers and Watkins. It's on an old dirt road. The road just kind of looks like a scene for a murder site. Like, it looks like someone could take you there and kill you and no one would ever know. It's on a dark dirt road, no lights. The bridge you can go underneath it and you don't even know that it's there unless you're underneath the bridge. It just looks like a normal road. But when you walk underneath, there's that bridge down there. So anything could happen down there. It's definitely a sketchy place. A lot of people go exploring there. On any given night, you guys can see at least maybe 2, 3, sometimes like 10 cars of kids there just exploring. The people that live nearby the bridge don't like you to be there, just a fair warning. People have had a gun pointed at them and been screamed at. It is public property right along the bridge, but if you go on the fenced off areas on either side, which is where the old bridge remains, the true Third Bridge, if you go over there, that's trespassing, so don't go over there. This place has a huge history, and I'm going to get into all of that. First, I wanted to give you guys a little update about our channel. We are going to be making masks soon with our logo on them, and they're really, really cool masks. I literally bought like 30 different masks trying to find the best quality, best shaped ones, and I think I found some really cool ones. Hope you guys love them. Let me know if you'd like to buy one in the comments just so I can get an idea of how many I should have made. I'll show you guys what they look like really quick because I have one. The fabric is super soft and it doesn't rub on your face to ruin your makeup. That's probably my favorite thing about them. They have almost like a batch, with the way that they're pointed on the nose and the chin. Oh, my gauges are so big, I can't get them over. You like? You love it? So yeah, we're gonna get our logos put on those and probably put those up on Etsy for you guys to buy. Moving on from that, let's go ahead and get on with Third Bridge, you guys. So a lot of teens, a lot of people that I talk to about this place, because I'm always talking to random people about haunted places. That's just my personality at this point. So everybody that I talk to, they're like, oh, I've been to Third Bridge. That's that place up in Arvada. Or that's that place up in Thornton. Oh, that's that place up in the mountains. That's the place where that bus crashed and killed 25 kids and their teacher.
It's like a hangout.
No. I'm sorry, but y'all are wrong. There is another place that's similar to Third Bridge, and it's actually a tunnel up on Gold Camp Road, which is up in Victor. Actually, it's between Cripple Creek and Victor. That place is very haunted as well. A bus actually did crash there, killing a bunch of students and a teacher and the bus driver. Super, super haunted. It's gated off now, but you can still walk up there. I've heard there's not a no trespassing sign there, so maybe you can walk through the gated entrance and go under that tunnel. We're gonna go there soon, so we'll let you guys know all about that. But this is the real Third Bridge, okay? Like I said, it's in Kiowa. It's off of County Line Road. And there's a ton of history to this place, you guys. So the original bridge, like I said, is on that private property, but you can see the new bridge. This one was built in the 70s, so there have been a couple of tragic events that happened there, also making this new bridge haunted. I think the whole area has a lot of things that go into why this place is so active. I think a lot of people hype it up too. It's definitely one of those popular places. So I'm going to start with the car crashes and then go into all the Native American legends and truths. So the first car crash here was in 1997. There were 5 teens in the car, 2 of which were girls, and then I believe it was 3 boys. They were driving, it said, at very high speeds. They ended up going off the road into the ditch, and the 2 girls died. The other people didn't die in this crash. People said that they saw something on the road causing them to veer off. None of them had been drinking or partaking in drugs or anything like that. And it seemed weird that they would be doing something so reckless because they were kind of responsible kids. So the 2 girls that died supposedly haunt the bridge now. Supposedly they leave handprints on your foggy windshield and windows if you park up there at 3 a.m. I don't know. This didn't happen to us, and we were there at that time. But I have read a ton of people's encounters where they said this did happen. A lot of people say their car breaks down, and we didn't really put 2 and 2 together until after. But we went there 3 times for this specific video, and the second time we went there, our car did break down. So we didn't really think of it at the time, but that is something that happens. We weren't at the bridge yet. We were on the way, but still kind of weird. People say they can hear horse hooves bleeding across the bridge, hear drum beats. People hear kids laughing, people talking to them that aren't there. I've heard cases of doppledingers at this place, which is super freaky. I'm going to tell you guys a very scary story at the end of this. It's from one of my best friends. She told me this story when we were in high school, and I almost remembered the entire story up until now. I'm nearly 30 years old, so that's a long time. It literally scared me so bad. I'll never forget that story. I had her send me a refresher of the story so that I get all the details right, but I can't wait to share that with you guys. So the next car crash, 2015, 5 kids. Like I said, I knew the guy that was friends with them from my work. They were driving at super high speeds down the road and again went off into the ditch, and this time the car catches fire and they all die in this fiery crash. And a lot of people say maybe they saw something in the road as well that made them veer off. It is said that people can see a woman walking in a white gown along the bridge. People also say that they've seen Native Americans on horses going over the bridge at very high speeds. Maybe they saw a racing horse and didn't want to hit that, so they veered off. Who knows? They are unfortunately all gone. Rest in peace to those victims, and our deepest apologies for their families. Also, it is said that in 2010, a man was found strangled to death with a bag over his head, laid along the bottom of the bridge. They found him like that. They find his car parked up on the bridge. His door was open, his keys were in the car, along with his wallet. So they ruled out robbery. They were never able to find anyone that had a motive against him. They were actually never able to find out what happened. So this is still a cold case. So far, that's 5, 6, 7, 8 deaths just since 1977. And you guys got to understand, there are not many people out here. I live over here. There's, I think my town has a population of less than 1,000. The area of Third Bridge, there's a house maybe every mile or 2 miles, very sparsely populated. So for this many people to die in one place, it is crazy. Not many cars travel down that road. There are no stop signs, stop lights. I don't even think there's a speed limit posted. Very rural area. So now I'm going to go back into the deeper history dating back to 1864. So back in 1864, the Arapaho and the Cheyenne and I believe one other tribe were occupying the area where Third Bridge is now. They would often set up camps and follow the herds of buffalo along this trail. So County Line Road, where the bridge is, was at one point kind of a trail in the dirt where these Indians would follow buffalo. So this place was kind of home for them. And even though they didn't die at the specific location, it was a little ways away. People think that maybe they came back to this specific place because maybe they camped out there the longest. They knew this place. It was home to them. When you die, you go to places that are familiar to you, you know? That's why so many houses are haunted. So at this time, settlers came from California and they made an agreement with the Native Americans saying that they could occupy the land as well. They kind of divided it up. They made a set of rules. Don't steal each other's horses, don't ruin the land in any way, stuff like that. It was pretty simple. So there was this guy, right? His name was Governor Evans. He was a total He absolutely hated the Native Americans. He wanted to kick them out and make the land his own. And he was actually trying to convince his troops to murder these Indians time and time again. And they were kind of like, dude, why? They are being so nice to us. Like, what is your issue? He was just a selfish, angry old man. So, back in June of 1864, a man named Daniel Hungate, he lived in this home right near Elderbox Creek, which is right in the Third Bridge area. This was actually right next to the bridge. He had a house right there. He had a wife and 2 daughters, and he had a farm hand that lived with them. He would often help. They'd help go kill animals that they could eat. They'd go off on their horses during the day, hunt, get food, stuff like that. So one day they set off to go find some cattle, and all of a sudden they noticed smoke rising from the homestead, and they immediately took off. Hungate went to the direction of the homestead. He rushed back to the ranch, and his ranch hand went off for help on his horse, so they split up, okay? Hungate gets back to his house. His house is burnt to smithereens, basically. His wife is found scalped, raped, and same with his daughters. And eventually, when the help does get back with the farmhand, Hungate is murdered as well. He had his throat slit and was scalped, which is probably the worst way you could die. I don't know if you guys know much about that. I don't know if I should really talk about it here on YouTube. I don't want to get in trouble. It's pretty gruesome. But they basically, they de-scalp you, turn it inside out, and just kind of let you bleed. It's so sad and awful. So it's said that the Native Americans did this to him, right? So Daniel Hungate and Governor Evans didn't really get along. So Governor Evans had a motive to kill Daniel Hungate, right? He really wants his troops to kill the Native Americans. So he needs to make them look bad in some way so that his troops have a reason to go and do this. So it's never really been brought up too much, besides in the case of Silas Soul. If you guys look up his story, it's amazing. He's the one that kind of put all this together. So this family's found murdered. Governor Evans has a motive against them, and he wants to make the Indians look bad. So of course he blames it on the Indians and kills them in a way that was relatable to things that Native Americans did do in times of extreme battle. They would scalp people, so maybe that's why they did it. Maybe it wasn't the Indians, you know. So this family was murdered. Governor Evans says, we must go and kill these Native Americans. Look what they have done to our men. And he's just this whole motivational speech. And this is when, first of all, the family's bodies were brought into Denver and put on display for everyone to see all the horrible things the Native Americans had done. It was put in newspapers. Everybody kind of knew about this and could see the bodies, which is so twisted in the first place. Governor Evans, you're a god-awful person. I hope you can hear me. So this is when the Sand Creek Massacre takes place. And I'm sure that if you guys know anything about the history of Colorado or the history of Native Americans, you know about the Sand Creek Massacre. This was quite a ways away from Third Bridge, but it was kind of in the general vicinity, I guess you could say. Same type of land, just barren, some crops, not really many trees, not a lot of stuff going on there. So these Native Americans, it was mostly women and children. They were at their camp. The men had been away hunting, and the white men, the settlers, kind of took advantage of this and went and murdered all the women and children. I think there were a few men left there, but mostly it was women and children. And they killed them all, and when the men got back from their hunting trip, they found their families just mutilated, and they were devastated. I can't even imagine. This is their home, first of all. They said the white men could be there as long as they behaved, and then they were framed for this Hungate murder, and then they were murdered themselves. So it's really sad. Native American history is really, really sad, and they were such wonderful, welcoming people from what it seems like. I don't know, I wasn't there, but it seems like they were really taken advantage of, and I think a lot of people do know that. The history is so interesting. I love learning about this stuff because, you know, I never would have known that. Like, anyways, so sad. So this Hungate family has said to be seen on the bridge a lot. Mr. Hungate and a Native American man together are spotted pretty often, both riding horses. Sometimes they're just standing there. There was one account on Reddit that we found where some guy was at Third Bridge exploring with his friends. He got left behind. He went down to tie his shoe, looked up, and there's a man that he could only describe the exact description of Daniel Hungate, which he didn't know at the time, his story. And then a Native American chief looking guy, you know, he had the really cool hat on and all that. So if they're friends in the afterlife, I don't think they killed each other in real life. You know what I'm saying? I really think Governor Evans framed all this stuff. So, is Governor Evans' ghost seen there? I'm not sure, but that would be very interesting. And if he is, I'm sure that explains kind of the feeling of just vengeance and darkness and malice. Because if those two spirits are both residing there, there's a battle in the afterlife. Okay, so a lot of people have said to hear drum beats there, and you do. The first time I went there, I was like, oh my god, somebody's literally just banging on a Native American drum, like just going at it. And I couldn't believe it. I was like, this is so crazy. How is this not like all over the news? I found out it is on the news, but anyways, I think it was a Reddit user debunked this. We were going to try to debunk it ourselves, and then we found this information, so we didn't actually drive to find it. But there is an oil rig digger, I don't know what they're called, I'm sorry, one of those things that goes up and down and digs out the oil. That is what makes that noise. However, when we were there, we did hear that noise and we knew what it was, okay? And then we did hear like a snary type of drum on top of it. So that was kind of interesting. I wonder if maybe that was legitimate, or maybe if it was just the machine doing a different action, making a different noise. I don't know, but it was the two beats together. So that was kind of interesting. Another fun fact is this is located in Arapahoe County, and Arapahoe is the tribe that was there. So that's kind of a cool little history bit. So people are saying their cars are breaking down, they're straight up seeing full-bodied apparitions, they're hearing horses, seeing horses, flying at high speeds, seeing ghosts of these girls. The kids that died there recently, I'm not sure if their ghosts are really seen, but I know that the activity has been heightened and increased, and that might have something to do with all the people going there after hearing about this specific crash on the news. They were there looking for ghosts when they died, so all the more reason for people to want to go there to try to find ghosts for themselves. We found a dead coyote right underneath the bridge. Thought it was kind of interesting. I'm not going to put it on here so YouTube doesn't flag me, but it was, just in the phase of rotting a little bit, decomposing. Looked like it hadn't been there all too long. It still had hair and skin, so I don't know what happened there. Are there people performing rituals under here, killing animals? I'm not sure, but you never know. It's Kiowa. I grew up out here. There's a lot of weird stuff that goes on, all right? There's some missile silos out here that we're going to try to get the okay to go in there. You can't just trespass in there. You can get in huge trouble because it is so dangerous. People die down there. But we're going to try to get the okay from the landowner and go back down there. We used to go down there when we were kids. People, there's this one room called the Satan room. You go down, it's like a mile underground and all these creepy ass tunnels. There's spray paint everywhere, super dark, the floor's rotting out. You can fall into this huge silo of water that has 50,000 gallons of water or something and just drown and never be found. No one goes down there. It's pitch black. You need all sorts of lights, ropes. I'm talking serious urbex equipment. But yeah, they have a room called the Satan room, and there's a giant blue satanic figure painted on the wall. There's tea light candles lining the entire room and going down the stairs leading up to this room, and it's way down there. You actually need a map to find it. You can print out the map online, but don't go there. Like I said, don't go there. You got to get the okay from the landowner, and I don't think he's too keen on letting people in there. We are lucky that we might have a connection through family and friends. We're crossing our fingers, but we're not 100% sure if we can film down there yet. But yeah, a bunch of weird stuff goes on down here. So I'm saying the animals found dead, that could be something weird. A lot of people do weird rituals out here. I don't think they know what they're doing. They're not very smart, but they're definitely creative. So yeah, pretty interesting. So now I'm going to go into my friend's story. I'm not going to give her name because where she was at, I think she was maybe trespassing a little bit. So just for the sake of her not getting in trouble, not going to give her name. She was one of my really good friends in high school. We still talk a little bit. She's cool as hell. She's a trusting, I trust her a lot. She was super honest about things. She's just a humble, straight up cool girl. I love her. So here's her story. I'm going to read it straight from her message. I went with some friends to Third Bridge for the second or third time in 2011-2012. It's been so long, it's kind of hard to remember. Third Bridge was a popular hangout spot for my boyfriend at the time and his friends, so we would often drive out there and hang out on the bridge. This, however, was the first time we would be leaving the bridge and exploring the grassy areas on each side, where the old bridge is. Each side was vastly different in layout. To the right, it was a dense collection of trees and what looked to be the deeper end of the dried up riverbed. On this side, there are what appears to be remnants of where the previous bridge once was. I told him that Third Bridge we drive on now was not the original bridge. We explored all of this and we walked around, and you could hear faint drumming noises in the distance, which wasn't surprising to us as we would hear the drums when we were on the bridge as well. The drumming noises would be accompanied by clinky noises, almost like someone shaking a bag of coins. Okay, so this is also something people talk about a lot. Anyways, this side of the bridge was rather uneventful. After ducking down and hiding as an Aurora PD spotlight was shown on the field, they were just checking to see if anyone had wandered off the bridge before going about the night. We went through the fending under the bridge to the other side. We had the most activity on this side for sure. It was myself, my boyfriend at the time, and a mutual friend of ours. This friend was very familiar with Third Bridge, and his family liked to frequent the bridge and ghost hunt. For starters, my boyfriend was acting very odd. He was walking about 40-50 feet in front of us, and even though the moon was out, he was a bit hard to see. We see the silhouette of him moving through the tall grass out of the way as he walked. The friend and I, let's call him B, were trying to keep up and getting frustrated with how he was acting. B and I started to get closer, and we thought he was slowing down. My boyfriend then continued into a taller part of the grass and then was gone. B and I began calling out for him. We hear a commotion to the right and see my boyfriend on the other side of the dry riverbed in the completely different direction he had been looking for us. So by this logic, we were following the silhouette of something that was not my boyfriend. Once we all regroup, we begin to walk further out, this time stayed next to the riverbed instead of being in the grass. As we began to approach the large cluster of trees at the very end of where this riverbed ends, I kept seeing something moving in my peripherals. Something was running behind the trees to our left side. I continued to look at the trees as we were still walking. Since this part was well lit by the moonlight, I could easily make out a large shadow jump between two of the trees. I panic. I let everyone else know. B and I were standing there trying to call out to see if it was someone pranking us, and nothing. When we look back over to my boyfriend, he had moved about 20 feet closer to the large cluster of trees, and he was on his knees facing them. After saying his name a couple of times, I went up and put my hand on his shoulder. As soon as my hand made contact, he jumped up and began yelling and cursing at me. There was no color to his face, and it was hard to tell if there was any color to his eyes due to it being so dark. This was such unusual behavior, so we decided that it might not be best to return to the bridge. Walking back, we took the same grassy way to the fencing so we could get back on the bridge. As we were walking through the grass, we stopped at a small valley-like part of the path because it had a slight fog. There was nowhere else foggy on this side. My friend mentions that the legend is the fog, supposed to be from the Native American tribes that once lived there. And the fog is supposed to be the warrior on horseback that is supposed to protect the village. I didn't think too much of it because it sounded far-fetched, honestly, but I also didn't want to be that skeptic person. So I just chuckled and continued on. Right after this, though, we began to hear galloping hooves in the distance. They sounded far away and quickly began to get louder and closer until it sounded like they were right on top of us. With a small gust of wind, the sound stopped. Thoroughly shaken up, the three of us quickly made our way back to the bridge. As we got to the wire, I'm pretty sure it was barbed wire. I held the wire open with one hand and my foot so that everyone could squeeze through. My boyfriend goes through first, B second. As B is going through the fence, I look up at my boyfriend and notice that there was a large black figure standing under the bridge. I froze. It looked just like the figure running through the trees. It stayed around the entire time my boyfriend was going under the bridge, but no one else could see it but me. Thinking that this may be my eyes playing a prank, I went through the fencing. By the time I got through, I stood back up and it was gone. When we got back up, I told B what had happened. We don't know why he couldn't see the figure when it was underneath the bridge, but he told me that he had seen the figure when it was in the trees, and he had seen a familiar figure on the previous ghost hunting adventures. Wow. As we stood on the bridge smoking, a small truck showed up and it was a very bitter man driving. He asked us pretty firmly to leave. Then he made mention that he always knows when people are trespassing because his house gets messed with by spirits every time someone is on the land. On this cue, we call it a night and drive home. Thank you for the opportunity to tell this story. I'm pretty convinced that the image of this figure under the bridge will be one that I never forget. Wow. Thank you so much for sharing that. I have freaking goosebumps. I don't even know what to say. That is just terrifying. I wonder if maybe you guys have some type of ESP, extrasensory perception that can allow you to really experience this stuff. I think certain days for spirits, they are a little bit easier seen. They can kind of communicate easier. So whatever you saw there, that's terrifying. Oh, I said your name. I'm sorry. So I wanted to mention that this guy in the white truck, we saw him as well. He came down and yelled at us. We were walking underneath the bridge when he pulled up. Sorry. We were walking underneath the bridge as he pulled up, and he was like, "What are you guys doing down there?" And we're like, "We're filming. We have a YouTube channel. I'm sorry, we're not going on your land. We understand that we can only go on the public property area, which is the road and directly underneath. We're sorry. We're not going on your property." He got our license plate number and called the cops on us, so we quickly finished our investigation and left. But I was wondering why he was so eager for us to leave when we were clearly just doing a research project. We were just doing a documentary, you know? But maybe that makes sense. Maybe he does have stuff going on at his house every time people go there. And if you're listening to this and you do, I'm terribly sorry. So keep that in mind, you guys, when you do go out here. Be respectful to the spirits. Be mindful of what you're doing. Don't disrupt the property in any way. And just be careful. A lot of people in the area, I've seen them on the news talking about how they're worried that kids are going to be out here exploring and get hit by a car themselves because people walk out into the road. So don't do anything dumb like that. Be careful. Watch for headlights. Don't be on the road when there's cars coming. And bring flashlights. Bring good shoes. You have to walk down a lot of rocky paths to get down to the bridge. Be respectful. What else can I say? You can look this up on Google Maps, by the way, if you need to know how to get there. Just type in Third Bridge, Colorado, and it'll take you right there. It does seem like you're driving off into the middle of nowhere for quite a while, so you're going the right way if you feel like you're gonna get murdered. And with all that being said, let me know in the comments if you guys have been to Third Bridge. Have you ever had anything weird happen there? I'd love to hear about it. Also, our next episode, what are we working on right now? We're working on a lot. We've filmed a ton of videos and I'm just working on editing all of them. So we will have some stuff out for you guys soon. We have a lot of haunts coming up. One place that we're going to go to is Elkhorn Lodge up by the Stanley Hotel. Yes, it did survive the fire. Apparently, you can stay the night there even though it's not advertised. It has to be open so that they can get their government funding. So supposedly you pull up there, it's kind of in the middle of nowhere. You ask the groundskeeper if you can stay, give her $50 and she'll let you stay the night. So we'll see if we can make it in there. We're going to be doing a video on the Denver Library, which has a figure that lives in the basement that has red glowing eyes that has been said to push people, attack people, scratch them, bite them. It sounds really terrifying. People that work at the library don't go down the basement by themselves anymore. They go in groups and they try to not go down there at all, in fact. If you guys have any questions about ghost hunting, let me know. I think we are going to be doing a video on ghost hunting equipment and the science of how it works, and give you guys some tips if you want to do it on your own. You can always look at our other videos if you want to look for places that you can go yourself to experience something. And always, you can message us on Instagram or Facebook if you have a story that you'd like us to tell. Our new Facebook group, super exciting. It's called A Haunting in Colorado Daily Creepy Facts. We do post daily on there, super creepy facts. Check that out. Ask yourself, or just ask if you can be in the group. Send that little invite on there and we'll immediately approve you. You can also post your own stories and creepy facts in the group. We're kind of trying to make it a community for you guys, so you can all share your stories and hear each other's stories as well. Same goes with our Instagram. We have daily creepy facts on there. That is my personal Instagram. It's called grunge_priestess. You can go on there for daily creepy facts, updates to our channel, and as always, make sure you check out our other videos. Our Georgetown video hasn't gotten a lot of views yet for some reason, and it's our best video yet. So if you haven't seen that one, go check that out. It's just called A Haunting in Colorado presents Georgetown, Colorado. I'm pretty sure you can find it on our page. It's one of our most recent videos. And with all that being said, I know that was kind of an earful. Thank you guys so much for watching. We really appreciate you guys. You guys watching this means that we can continue to do this, and we really enjoy it, and we love sharing this stuff with you guys. So thanks so much for listening. Have a good night. Bye.